Eric Blake. Okay, Bill, down to business. Star Trek question. Let's say you, as you are today, existed back in the 1980s. I did exist back in the 1980s, but I admit I was not quite so advanced. Next Generation and the other non-Kirk Trek shows do not exist. Gene Roddenberry gives you the keys to the kingdom. The new Star Trek is yours to create, develop, and run as you please. Character shift designs, general themes, and premise, all from your imagination. What would you give us? I'm glad you asked that. I would give you Star Trek Prelude to Axanar. That's what I would give you. Verbatim, with no adjustments. Needless to say, with all the talk about Star Citizen and all the rest of the stuff, this whole thing comes under the category of fan fiction. And one of the things, I saw Star Wars fan fiction today called Birth of a Monster, which was very, very well made. However, the director cast his son in the lead role, and the son is, I don't know, was 6 or 7 years old. And the kid is terrible. And the whole movie, which would have been at least interesting, the robot was fantastic, the droid was fantastic. But if he had a better, center to the movie, it would have been a better movie. It still got seen by 500,000 people, I want to say. So fan fiction is everything, and none of the stuff that we've talked about would work if we didn't have a great deal of confidence predicated on the fact that there have been tens of thousands, I would say, copyright violations that have been tolerated as long as you play by the rules of the copyright violation, which is you give credit to the people. In the case of Star Wars, it's like these are Disney characters. Disney owns the copyright to these characters, and you don't make any money off of it. So far so good. So you see all these fan fictions going back to was it the first Star Wars parody was kind of like there was a Stormtroopers parody real early, and it's like Cops. So you get the idea. Now, the only time I've ever heard the studios of any kind, of any of the studios, ever go to war over this was with Star Trek Prelude to Axanar. And the reason that they went to war over this was because somehow they raised about $1 million, I want to say, just to make the trailer. And the problem for Paramount and CBS is that hardware wars, thank you, Joseph, that's what I was thinking. The problem for them is that Prelude to Axanar is in every way, much better Star Trek than Discovery. Much, much, much better. Much better. Much better Star Trek and much more interesting, not if only because you've got great acting and great writing. And the guy who produced it, who's playing Garth of Izar, I said, I saw this at first. I was like, that's Garth of Izar. He looks like a pharmacist. Well, he's a damn good actor, and whether he wrote it or not, I don't remember. But he's got some very good writers, and my friend Gary Graham is in that, and a number of other very good actors. And it's beautifully shot and it's beautifully written, and it's just damned entertaining. And the reason that that CBS or whoever went to war and tried to shut them down was because they were rolling out yet another Star Trek series. And this one had nothing to do with Star Trek. Discovery's nothing. It's not Star Trek. It's got nothing to do with Star Trek. I'm just writing it off. And people say, "Oh, it's canon." No, it's not. It's not. There was not a period between, the uniforms you saw in the Menagerie, the Cage. The original Star Trek pilot. Those uniforms, and then the uniforms in the original series. You did not go between those two things into this blue. Tunics, accented with chrome. It just didn't happen, and there is no such thing as a spore drive, and it's not powered by individuals' ability to focus. It's forget it. It's not part of the canon. I don't care what they say. It just simply doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So that's that. Axanar is just beautifully written and beautifully acted, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. If you get a chance, just go to YouTube and search Prelude to Axanar, Axanar, and you will see 20-minute tease for what should have been an entire series, and should have been what they should have done, these idiots, is they should have hired this guy and hired Gary Graham back and all the rest of these actors and put those guys in charge of the reboot, because it is awesome Star Trek. It's more Star Trek than the original series almost. It is absolutely perfect. It belongs exactly where it is. And when you hear about the Federation basically being exploration, they run into the Klingons. The Klingons are kicking our asses so badly that the Klingons use a strategy that they translate as the strategy of little respect. So we're just getting our butts handed to us out there, and you know. And then they come up with the design for this new Federation ship called the Ares, and it's doing well. And the Klingons have the D6, and then they know the D7 is coming, but they're working on the Constitution-class cruiser, and you see the Enterprise class, the Constitution, being built, and it's like everything is perfect, and it works great. And you've heard me say a lot about these Mary Sue characters and female characters, and I know a lot of people must think, well, you really don't think women can do anything. On the contrary, if you look at Axanar, there are 3 captains. There's Garth and 2 others. I don't remember their names. But the 3 of them together are terrific. And the woman captain of that, in that Prelude to Axanar, I bought 100%. I would be just delighted and honored to serve on her ship, because she's a genuine badass. She's a real captain. I saw one of those today, too. I was looking at some more stuff on the Columbia catastrophe, and there was a woman who was commanding the International Space Station. I'd never seen her before, but she was apparently the head of the astronaut program or something like that. Somebody's going to provide her name in just a minute. Short, blonde-haired looking woman, and she didn't look like didn't look like a woman rugby player, but she looked and sounded like the person who you'd get to be the captain of the, to be the commander of the International Space Station when you're up there. Anyway, that's real easy. I just would have gone back to the roots, and I think that's the answer for Star Wars